Morning everybody, welcome to the Hungaroring for the start of a brand new season of the Euroformula Open. Cars are on the track and the clock has started for the very first session in the Euroformula Open. It's taken us a while to get here. It's been an eventful journey, hasn't it? But we are here. Euroformula Open cars are out on track once again. And I'm very excited to be here calling the action for you. Chris McCarthy, trackside here for you at the Hungaroring. And as ever, alongside in the commentary box will be Elliot Wood. Elliot, morning to you. How does it feel to finally be in the commentary box commentating on Euroformula Open again?
It feels great. I've been waiting so many months for this moment. So many months.
Yeah, it's been a long ride, but we are all here. Very excited to be calling the action for you. While the cars are getting themselves up to speed, you can see drivers are out on their warm-up laps. Let's talk about the grid. Run us through who we got. We got, of course, some. I'd say in Euroformula Open, it's kind of a clean slate, isn't it? You know, we haven't got any drivers coming in who you would say, oh, they're going to wipe the floor of everyone because of the form they had last year. We've got some drivers who have returned who, you know, were getting themselves up to speed last year. Some drivers who have done 1 or 2 races last year. But mostly, you look at how many rookies we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rookies out of the 12 drivers we've got on circuit.
Yeah, it's very much so that it's a series that if you're good enough to win it, you can win it. And someone only pointed that out to me last night. I went, that's actually very true. It's very true. I think the most important thing about this season is we have the new Dallara 320. Now, it's not officially a Formula 3 car, but it's a successor to the much-loved and very widely used Dallara F312 and F317. This is a lighter car. I think it's around 575 kilos. It's got the Halo cockpit protection device, so built to 2018 F1 safety standards. Strengthened safety structures, increased aero, a lot more efficient aero from the previous car. And all round, if we're watching it on track, you can see the pictures, it's so nimble, it's so lightweight, and it's great to see single-seater racing cars like this again. Because you know, the trend is make them heavier, make them look more like the current F1 cars. This looks like a current F1 car, but it drives like a classic Formula 3 car. That's what we love to see. We're
going to run you through the entry list, and let's go in number order, so that sometimes I go in position order and then they all change, and I lose track of who I haven't mentioned. So Nicholas Cruton is going to be in the number 4, one of several rookies. Ido Cohen will be in the number 6, and then behind that we have in the number 12, Glenn Van Berlo, someone I commentated on when I did a championship in Belgium for the very first time in karting. Great to see him here. Also out there, Sebastian Essner, one of the 2 Essner brothers. Andreas Essner will be in the 16, Sebastian in the 15. Yiffy Yi is then in the 20. What an exciting entry that is to have along. We have then the likes of Zane Maloney in the 31. Alexandra Bardinon is in the number 21. Manuel Maldonado is in the 33. And then we have Shihab Al-Habsi in the 34.
And Rui Andrade in 99. Zane Maloney is the very first driver to start a flying lap in qualifying in the Dallara 320. This is a bit of single-seater history we're witnessing right now. And we're watching him come down the hill and on the way back up to what will be turn 4. This is a corner that's tricked quite a few people with track limits, because, you know, it's off camber and you're going over the crest of the hill. And we'll see how he handles it. Car looks fine. Driver looks confident. It's a very encouraging sign. And it'll be the very first sector time at 35.7. Very quick.
Zane Maloney, 16 years old, from Barbados. He came out of karting last year, did his first ever championship in single-seaters, in cars as well, and won the British F4 Championship, taking 10 wins and 15 podiums. Now he's driving Elliot mad because he's doing on an absolute flyer here on his first lap.
Yeah, that is incredible commitment. We saw him going over the curbs, very, very committed, and coming through the next corner, he actually got wide on the exit curb. The Michelin tyres we're using on this car take around 2 laps, I think, to peak to get the best lap time. So the fact that he's going this quickly on the first lap suggests there might be even more time to come on the next time round. But it also looks like he's already on the edge. so it could make it easier to make a mistake as well.
Up to the line we go. Let's see what benchmark time he puts down as he comes across the line. And there we go, 134.7. That is now the benchmark. Let's see what everyone else can do. Yiffy is on his way up to the line. We'll talk a little bit more about him. And he goes to the top. The Chinese driver goes to provisional pole position. Brilliant stuff that by Yiffy. Manuel Maldonado has just gone to third place. Ido Cohen has gone to fourth. Now, Yiffy, you'd have to say, it's based off experience, has to be one of the most, or has to be one of the favourites for this championship. 20 years old, Chinese driver, member of the Renault Sport Academy. He's been racing in single-seaters for a little bit now. He finished third in the 2018 Formula Renault Eurocup. Then he went to FIA F3 last year. Didn't really work out the way he expected, so now he's kind of made a sideways step, hasn't he, to the Euroformula Open.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster career for Yiffy, because he did French F4, which is kind of a spec series, all with cars run by the same team. Great commitment through the curbs there. And he won the title in his second year, pretty much did the same in Formula Renault Northern European Cup and Eurocup. And he went to FIA 3, and at the very last minute he got Renault support, and he'd been turning down F1 support for several years because he's managed by Neil Yarney, the sports car legend.
Yes, he is.
Lost that support at the end of last year, but he's come back looking stronger. Chatted to Timo Rumpfkeil, who knows him very well, manages some drivers as a team boss, and he said his winter testing program was brilliant. So it's great to see Yiffy in the series.
Well, I was going to say, he struggled last year. He finished 21st. He was with High-Tech, who was so good this year, but he was vice champion in the F3 Asian Winter Series. That might be why he's so confident.
And Maloney improves again, a 134.056 to beat Yiffy. Yiffy is coming out of the final corner right now. See how he responds. He goes quicker, 133.5. That is the fastest lap of the weekend we have seen. Now we've got the same size engine restrictor, or air intake restrictor, as we had 2 years ago in Formula 3. So we're expecting lap times to be at least a second faster than they were in 2018. This time last year we did have a smaller engine restrictor for Euroformula, but it's and he's getting very loose through turn 2. Again, that is for Yiffy. We've seen that on 2 laps in a row now, so that's where he's losing time. Some of the other drivers are losing at the end of the lap, and I don't know, it depends how long you're going to make your tyres last, because there is definite peak with this Michelin tyre.
Well, then we've got Andreas and Sebastian Essner, not in the order. Well, Andreas is 20 years old, so he's the older of the two. Sebastian, 18, so Andreas will be happy to be leading that battle, the Van Amersfoort drivers. Here comes Sebastian Essner up to the line. He's on a personal best. Can he go ahead of his brother? Can he go even higher than that? Yes, he can. He's gone past Zane Maloney as well. Sebastian Essner goes up to second place, the 18-year-old. Brilliant lap time from him. You were chatting to him yesterday. It's quite an interesting chat you have with Sebastian yesterday, because I think he's even surprised himself with the pace he's at. He was
quite surprised how obviously every driver wants to be in first place, but he couldn't really distinguish the exact reason why he was so quick. And here's a replay of one of his teammates. Is that the number 16? So that's his brother Andreas. Yeah, getting wide. And we've seen several drivers have a bit of a moment at that corner. Yeah, he wasn't quite sure why he was so quick, but Van Amersfoort, I chatted to team boss Fritz Van Amersfoort, and he basically said that the setup demands of the new 320 are very similar to the old F317 and F312. And he said it reminded him of when he was running Max Verstappen back in the day, and it was the same kind of asking the questions of the drivers and seeing what feedback they could give him and putting it back into the car. And these 3 drivers aren't massively experienced, but combined input together, they've got a car that could be at the top this weekend. Well,
Andreas, he's another driver like Yiffy. He's made a sideways step over from FIA F3. Now, Sebastian did ADAC F4 last year and took his first single-seater win of his career, and that was at Zandvoort. So let's see if he can add to those on this season. Here comes Andreas, though. I think this is a big year for him, like Yiffy, making that sideways step. He's got something to prove, not only to everyone else, but to himself as well. And he goes to third place, so he'll be pretty happy with that. Zane Maloney, 4th. Ido Cohen is 5th place. Had a good run in the Italian F4 Championship last year. Finished 6th overall. So I'd say he's pretty well prepared for this. Manuel Maldonado has had a few seasons in the BRDC British F3 Championship. I think he's done 3 seasons in that now. Now he's up to this. He's 6th. Nicholas Cruton, I remember him in karting. He's done pretty well to rise up the ranks in the way he's done. Then we've got the French driver there, Bardinon. Then we've got Ayrton Simmons, another exciting entry, the British driver. Glenn Van Berlo, Shihab Al Habsi, Rui Andre. That's the order they sit.
Yep, and we see Zane Maloney coming into the pits right now, who was fastest earlier. He's currently in 4th place. What we often see in Euroformula is drivers go out for one run, try and get the most out of the tyres. They go back to the team, say what tweaks they need to make to the car, because often practice sessions are in different temperature conditions to qualifying, and they go out for a second run on a new set of tyres. In free practice yesterday, it was pretty much the same, but they're actually bedding in, putting like a few laps in on set tyres, bedding in a set of brakes for the race of qualifying today. So they've almost planned their strategy for what they're doing now the day before, and it'd be very interesting to see how it plays out. Van Amersfoort seemed to have it hooked up in free practice yesterday, as we see Alexandre Bardignon come through the chicane. Very committed these cars are through their corner, and we do have the F1 curbs here. This is a lightweight car, and clattering over those big curbs, you got to be careful, because we've even seen F1 cars recently not taking kindly to the curbs. So an F3 car, has to be careful, the driver does.
Well, Bardignon's an interesting one, because he's done 1 year in single seaters. Before that, he did GT4 in France. Before that, though, I'm not sure if he was a karter. Like I said, I've worked in karting. I used to commentate in karting. I've never really heard of Alexandre Bardignon before, so I think I don't know if that was his first ever move into cars when he did GT4.
Kind of. I believe he did the vis-a-vis single-seater challenge.
Yes,
I'm
he did.
a bit of a single-seater.
I think he did like one or two races.
Yeah,
that was it.
And we're getting some great audio here from the garages. Bardignon's part of the Masterclass, which is, I think it's like a private circuit in France, his family own. I may be wrong, but I understand from last year, because it became the Masterclass racing team, which entered another series.
Right.
And then Van Amersfoort picked him up, and he drove for them. And over winter, Fritz basically said he'd gained like over a second and a half over winter, because they spent, I think, maybe 10 days in Spain testing, and it was just lap after lap, do this, change a little bit, and every little change gets a little gain. And he came into free practice yesterday, and I think he was like 6/10 off the pace, and everyone was genuinely surprised. Good surprise, because you want drivers to be competitive, and that's exactly what he proved to be in free practice.
Now, I'm a good luck charm for this driver, Glenn Van Berlo. The first year, my first full year of commentary, I got asked to do a series, a karting series in Belgium called the BNL Karting Series. I came over to that series, commentated it, and Glenn Van Berlo was champion that year, and it was the first title he won in that championship. So, will I be another good luck charm for Glenn Van Berlo? 18 years old, Dutchman. Let's see what he can do this year. Did Spanish F4 championship with MP Motorsport. We'll come back to that.
Oh, and we're on a shot of Yiffier. We're seeing a shot of Alexandre Bardignon now. And if you see at the top of the car, if that engineer gets out of the way, that's where you traditionally have your air intake on a Formula 1 car or a Formula 2 car. In Euroformula, we have this kind of, maybe a P, I don't know what shape it is.
Wow.
It's a kind of the side air intake. It looks a bit like a jet engine on the side, and that's where you put the air restrictor, and it controls how much air gets to the engine, and that essentially controls the power output.
Right.
And we have 2 engine suppliers in Euroformula, one of the very few open engine formulas on the planet. We have HWA and Spies, both German power suppliers. And then there's a great little rivalry going on in Euroformula. It's basically lasting for 3 decades at this level of single seater. So a lot of history, but also a lot of future-looking stuff for Euroformula.
Get in touch online, use the hashtag Euroformula, send in your messages, and we'll send in any questions for Elliot as well. We've got an absolute expert beside us here. Now we've got all the cars in the pits, Elliot. I think this is another good time to really talk about the new cars for this year and the main differences we're going to see in them.
Yeah, the main difference is weight. I think they're around 10 kilograms lighter. It depends what drive you got in, because it's the minimum weight, including driver, 575 kilograms. Some great commitment over this chicane. I'm loving seeing these shots. Then obviously we've got the air restrictor, which is the same size as it was 2 years ago. And you can get more power out of this engine, but you want to make these engines last. We want to be efficient. We want to be eco-friendly, essentially, as much as we can be with internal combustion unit. You can see that on the right, well, the left-hand side of the car, right-hand side of the screen, that is the shape I can't describe of the air intake.
It's the air intake.
Yeah, it's the air intake. Then we also have underfloor aerodynamic efficiency improved. I was looking at the wooden planks we have at the bottom of single seaters.
Yes.
They're thinner than a pencil. They pretty much are. I saw them in the Dallara lorry yesterday, and I've never seen them when they're, because you have to get under a car to essentially see them. And if you wear them thin, and especially on these curbs, that's what you could do. That's the kind of thing that you get penalised for. That controls airflow under the car. And we have aerodynamic changes, front and rear wings. They've been improved as well. So all round, it's a quicker car, it's a faster car, but it's very similar to the old car, and that's what the customers wanted. That's what Euroformula wanted. Series in Japan, Super Formula Light, that's what they wanted, and Dallara created a product that essentially everyone's happy with.
Well, let's talk now. While we've got a little bit of break, I just want to run through the order quickly. Let's talk about any surprises, both good and bad. So we got Yiffy leading Sebastian Essner by just over 1.5 tenths. Andreas Essner, Zane Maloney, Ayrton Simmons. We haven't talked a lot about him. Was did very well in the BRTC British F3 Championship. Before that, had a very good run in British F4 as well. He's in 5th, Hidoko in 6th. Manuel Maldonado saw it 1 round last year, 7th. Nicholas Cruton did the last 3 rounds, if I remember correctly, got a best result of 8th. He's in 8th, funnily enough. Bardignon is 9th, Clem Van Berlo 10th. Shihab Al Habsi, who has had some decent results in UAE F4, he's 11th. And then we have Rui Andrade in 12th, who raced with us last season. Any surprises for you, good and bad?
I think Sebastian Essner is a surprise. After yesterday, topping 3 practice, probably not a surprise. But going into this weekend, I wouldn't have expected him to be, so quick in a Formula 3 car as he is, given there are drivers with Formula 3 experience in this field. Ayrton Simmons as well, he's got a bit of a challenge on his part because he's the only car RR Racing has this weekend. So it's down to him to essentially guide which way the team goes with setup. They've only got one person to take data from, and therefore you've got to be brilliant with your feedback to get the most out of that car.
If you don't know a lot about Euroformula Open, it's produced some absolutely fantastic drivers over the years. It's ran under its current title. I mean, last year Marino Sato was the champion. Where is he now? FIA F2, as is the champion in 2018. Felipe Drugovich took pole position at Silverstone last weekend as well. Before that, it was Harrison Scott. Leonardo Pulcini, we're going to see him in International GT Open a little bit later, but he went straight from this to the FIA F3 Championship. Well, I say the FIA F3 to GP3 at that time, and did extremely well in that. I think he finished 4th overall in GP3. So that's your last 4 champions. But I mean, you look at some of the drivers that have been and gone, some absolutely brilliant drivers, the likes of Danny Juncadella, Jack Aiken, Ahmed, Dorian Boccolacci as well, Colton Herter, who's in IndyCar, Devlin G. Francesco, David Schumacher. I could go on and on. So if you win this championship, Elliot, even if you put a good performance in here, you're either going to go sideways to FIA F3 or up to F2.
Absolutely, yeah. Or even straight across to America, across the pond to IndyCar or Indy Lights. Obviously, Indy Lights isn't on this year, but this is a car. Oh, and there's
there we go.
Very strange slowing down of Andreas Essner.
I tell you what, that was very polite driving for Bardignon.
He did lock up his front right though, and that's not going to help him going forward for the rest of the session.
And it won't help that Bardignon actually slowed down afterwards as well. But there you go.
Yeah, I think with this car as well, it does prepare you for something like IndyCar because how it handles. Whereas if you look at the heavier cars, it almost prepares you more for a GT car because it's the weight distribution. And as you can see, we have the red and white curbs, then we have these kind of green strips beyond that, and then in F1, for F1 circuits, they put another set of curbs on behind that. These huge sausage curbs. If you walk the circuit, you'll realise how big they are. And those can really mess with a car. So drivers have to be very careful to not break track limits, not go over too much of the curbs. But because the car's so light and nimble, if you ride that curb, you can get the car turned around the corner a lot quicker, get the throttle down, traction, zoom out the corner. And with these cars, on a circuit like this, where each corner leads into the next, if you can master that, that's going to make you quick.
There we can see Zane Maloney from Barbados just in the background. British F4 champion. And I tell you what, watching British F4 last year, it was the second half of the year that he became absolutely dominant. He wasn't like that at the start of the season. So Zane Maloney, I think, is one to watch in terms of race wins, perhaps, for the second half of this season. Because once he started winning, he didn't stop. 10 wins and 15 podiums out of 30 races.
Yeah, but I think the title race did actually go down to the final race because we were watching it in the Euroformula paddock. There was all the teams watching it because it was versus Alvarez, Sebastian Alvarez, double R.
It was that second half of the season, from what I remember, that was when all the stories started coming out. Zane Maloney winning again, and like I said, to be on the podium for half the races of the season is not a bad effort.
And if Maloney does do well, it'd be very interesting because in Euroformula we haven't typically had Formula 4 graduates be winners straight from the off.
Right.
Even the Red Bull Juniors we had last year, I guess Yuki Tsunoda did come from Formula 4, but Liam Lawson had TRS experience, Moreno Sato had done Formula 3, Felipe Drugovich had done ADAC F4, but he also did MRF Challenge. Harrison Scott, great career prior to that, Formula Renault, Formula 4, Formula Ford, which is probably the closest you can get in like philosophy to these cars, and very lightweight, a lot of mechanical grip, not much else.
There we go. He was a brilliant karter as well. Raced with Ricky Flynn and did extremely well with them. I remember commentating on that in 2018, and he was really, really impressive. So he gets up to speed quickly, I think it's fair to say. But I think we've been, let's not make this the Zane Maloney show. We're going to go back to 6 because Nicholas Cruton has just gone up to 6th place. And one thing we haven't really done actually is talk about the times. Top 7 are 1 second apart. Then we have the top 9, 1.4 apart. Glenn Van Berlo, 1.8. 2 seconds between the top 11. Rui Andrade is in 12th place. So Nicholas Cruton, the one on the move. We talked about him. He did the last 3 rounds last year, 3 8th places, and that should give him confidence to get off the ground early, get off the ground quickly, and that's what he's trying to do with that 6th place.
Yeah, and just ahead of him in 5th place is Ayrton Simmons, double R.
Yes.
Common trend we saw with double R last year, ran lower wing levels, better at top speed, and he has topped the speed trap, 226.8. Haven't seen anyone in the 220s prior to that, so that is a great speed to hit on this circuit. It's in the sun though, so the tyres, you know, they're not going to like being pushed to the limit in 30 degrees heat.
Ayrton Simmons racing with Double R, who ran Linus Lundqvist last year. He finished 3rd in BRDC British F3 last year, 10th in the F3 Asian Championship as well. So he's got that European experience as well as all the British racing he's been doing.
Yeah, and that might explain why Sebastian Estner is quicker than Andreas Estner. Because the FIA free car has a very different driving style you need for this car. Yeah. And speaking to some team bosses, it's quite hard for drivers to then move back to this kind of car and get used to the demands of this car. Also, in other series, you have a different tyre supplier. I won't name them. But it requires a very different approach to races and qualifying of when you're going to reach the peak of that tyre, how much energy you can put into it, and how quickly you can actually generate temperature. We've seen some teams here where they take 2 or 3 laps to actually put the temperature in the tyre. And in a qualifying session this short, you can't just do that. You really need to get it on your out lap, 2nd lap done, and then the tyre should be ready for essentially your pole lap. And that's something teams need to master. Yiffy getting loose through the turn 2 again.
Yeah, well, he's just gone 4.5 tenths quicker than anyone. He's trying to continue this trend of non-European champions, which we've seen for the last 2 years in Drugovich and Sato. And Yiffy at the moment, 4.5 tenths clearer than the rest of the field. Manuel Maldonado, I'll get that out in the end. He's gone a 5th. Rui Andrade goes up to 9th. Sebastian Estner halves the gap to Yiffy and brings it down to just 2 tenths. And he was quickest through the final sector as well. Personal best through the second. It was just the first one that let him down. But Yiffy going even quicker again here, Elliot.
Yeah, and the first and final sectors are fairly similar. Yiffy clattering over those curbs again, but a lot of drivers are, and they're keeping their lap times. First and final sectors, very similar corners. That's where Van Amersfoort looks quickest. The Crypto Tower car, which Yiffy is driving, looks very quick in the second sector. As we see, he's increased his fastest sector time, 0.192 seconds up. I think this could be our pole lap.
Yep, I think it could be. Round the penultimate corner, he comes up towards turn 14 and the final corner. Yiffy round the final corner. Let's see how quick he can go. How much quicker is he going to be? I think it's a case of that now more than anything. Up to the line he comes, Yiffy. What time will it be? Will he go sub 133? Not quite. He does a 133.2. The last sector really let him down there.
And I was about to say, it looked like through the last corner he released the steering a bit. And we saw that through turn 2 as well. These 180-degree corners, that Crypto Tower car doesn't quite look comfortable, whereas the Van Amersfoort cars look very nice in those corners. So that might be the deciding factor in who takes pole here.
Well, there we go. Of course, Van Amersfoort, experienced team, Crypto Power. Not so sure they're
yeah, it's a new Japanese team. We had a lot of Japanese drivers last year, a lot of Japanese interest in the championship, and it's. I guess Crypto Tower is a sponsor and a team boss and a team owner at the same time.
Right.
And they've got 2 drivers here this weekend. They're going to have a 3rd driver for the second round. They've got Yiffy and Rui Andrade this weekend. And I'd say going across the grid, we've got a great array of liveries this weekend. I saw a livery contest on social media last night. And
right.
There was a lot of votes and a lot of argument going on who has the best.
Andreas Essner just goes ahead of his brother, so the older brother beating the younger one. Andreas goes to second place, just over a tenth back from Yiffy. The clock's almost struck zero here, so last laps we are on, and drivers are going to be crossing the line for the last time very shortly to take the flag. We look at Sebastian Essner, currently in third place, and he's up. He's gone purple through the first sector. So brilliant stuff this from Sebastian Essner as he now makes his way round turn 5. Oh, very wide through there up towards the turn 6 chicane, but Zane Maloney also going quickest through the first sector as well. This is going to be an incredibly exciting end to the session. We go back to Zane Maloney, purple and green.
It looked like Essner had traffic there. We didn't quite see it on the camera, but as he was approaching chicane, I believe there was a car in front of him as Maloney comes through the final few corners. He is driving for Carlin this weekend. Going to see him through the final corner. Can we see his steering input? He looks like he's a lot cleaner than Yiffy. Oh, but he's gone well wide over the curbs as he crosses the line. And he stays in fourth place.
Well, Yiffy bailed out. He came into the pits. What about Sebastian Essner in the background? Is he going to go any quicker? I believe we pick him up now. Let's have a look. Andreas Essner is in second at the moment. Will that change, though? Sebastian Essner rounds the final corner. He makes his way up to the line now. He was purple and he was green, and he's going to stay third place. So no changes up the top, and I believe that is going to be your lot. We haven't seen Cruton, Van Berlo, Bardignon or Habsy across the line. They're not being shown in the pits either, but we are seeing drivers now cross the line. Bardignon is in the pit lane. He takes the checkered flag. Ido Cohen, as Elliot just points out to me, he made a last-minute move up the field, and he goes to 5th from 7th. So good driving from the Israeli driver there right at the end. But there is your pole sitter for race 1 later. It is the Chinese driver, Yiffy for Crypto Tower Racing. He takes pole by just over a tenth of a second. And I tell you what, his body language getting out the car, that looks like that was just business as usual. That's the exact start he wanted, and it was almost the start many of us expected. He's coming in with a lot of pressure on his shoulders, I can tell you that. But there is your results. Yiffy takes pole position, then a very happy Esther family somewhere. Andreas second, Sebastian Essner third. Brilliant driving from the two brothers there. Zane Maloney, what a start to his second season in single-seaters. His Carlin teammate Ido Cohen just behind him. Manuel Maldonado 6th. Ayrton Simmons is in 7th place for RR Racing. Nicholas Cruton finishes in 8th. Rui Andrade, the teammate to Yiffy, in 9th place. Glenn Van Berno for DriveX is rounding out the top 10. And then just behind that, outside of the top 10, Alexandra Bardignon and DriveX teammate to Glenn Van Berlo, Shihab Al-Habsi. Less than 2 seconds between the entire field, but less than a second between the top 7. So this is your top 3, then another look at them. There is Sebastian Essner. He's going to start from the inside of row 2. It's going to be interesting to see him and the battle between his 20-year-old brother, Andreas Essner, who we see in second place. Yiffy is then going to be on pole position. That's to look at Andreas, but here is a look at your pole sitter for later. Chinese driver Yiffy for Crypto Tower Racing Team. Let's go and hear from him now.
Yiffy, fantastic first session, qualifying session in the Euroformula, already pole. You must be very happy.
Yeah, as we have seen from yesterday, the gap between us and other teams are pretty close. So we have to really fight hard, to work hard with the engineer to find out what's the best solution to improve lap time. And yeah, today we did a very good job. So we had to put a good performance on both new tires, which we did. So I'm very happy about that, and thanks to the team for the great job as well. And yeah, this afternoon the race will be a big challenge under the heat. So yeah, let's see how we do. Hopefully, yeah, best of luck.
Thank you. All the best for later. Thank you.
Well, we hear there from Pole City Yiffy in our poses for some pictures. Will we see the same picture this afternoon, I wonder? Race is going to start at 1:20 local time. Do join us then as we get the season underway in Euroformula Open.